Hey guys, welcome to another episode of our Home Shop Shop. This week we're putting a tow bar on the truck. Finally. So here is today's victim. So this is my Isuzu NPR 200. It is a 2007, so diesel, cool, rah. Problem is the tow bar situation, because I have a tailgate lifter. So this tailgate lifter I bought with the truck, obviously. I decided I was going to keep it. I was originally going to get rid of it and make some money back, but after having it for about 2 weeks I decided it was super handy and I couldn't get rid of it, which made the tow bar difficult. So a good friend of mine, Ryan, he organised this tow bar for me. So this comes from the company that makes the tailgate lifter. So it's a bolt-on solution. Bolt-on, we all know how that goes. So it actually does look like it's going to go on pretty well, but there is some stuff in the way after clearance. So the idea is, once you've got the tow bar on and in place, when you want to use the tailgate lifter, you pull these two pins, pull this section out, and then use the tailgate lifter, and when you're done, put this back in, put the pins back in. So it's reasonably simple, or should be. There's just some stuff in the way. So as you can see, we've got these bumpers all the way along, so there's 4 of them in total. So the middle 2 have to go for that tow bar. So we're going to have to get in here and cut them off, which is going to be difficult. I'll drop the tailgate lifter down and show you a bit clearer. Alright, so we've got the tailgate down, as you can see. So this is a much better view of those 2 middle bumpers. So we're going to cut them off right back there, where that bar is. Smooth them all off and then bolt on the new tow bar. That section there goes into that main bar. So it's going to be a bit awkward, I think, but let's get stuck into it. So as you can see, I had to take the ram out of the way to get access to the inside. Same for this side. So I'm just going to swap the camera angle so I can get into here and you don't have to look at my butt crack. So I'll put the hyperlapse over there somewhere and we'll get this one off. And then we'll nip away at these a bit more, get them kind of close, and then grind them back. Alright, so I've nipped away all the extra on the 2 pipes. I sure did clip one of the wires on that, so I'm going to have to fix that as well. Now I'm just going to need to put the flap disc on the grinder, smooth these off, and then paint the areas that I scuffed with the grinder, like there, and there's one in there as well. And then these 2 areas, obviously. So I think I might take these wires off before I attack more wires with the grinder, and then try and move this out of the way a little bit further. So change of plans, that's a pop rivet. I'm just going to not hit that with the grinder and hope for the best. Cross your fingers for me, everybody. Both smooth and ready for paint. So I'm going to put the ram on before I can put the tow bar back on. So I'm going to leave that wire for now and have to fix it later, but I'll get the ram in place, get the tow bar going, and then I'll work out what's going on with that wire. So I've gotten the ram back in place. As you can see, I haven't painted anything yet, and I just wanted to check to see if that wire that I nicked with the grinder, see if that has actually stopped it from working, which it has not. So it still operates perfectly fine. I must have just nicked the rubber insulator, so I'll just rub some tape around that and it'll be all good to go. So I'm just going to paint these edges and then we can start fitting the tow bar. Smoothed and painted. The wire didn't do anything, or I didn't hit it hard enough, one of the 2. Still works perfectly fine. Tow bar time. So there's a little bit of stuff on around, but pretty simple. So I've got the 2 legs on the back of the tailgate lifter. So as you can see, they just loop over the back of the main crossbar and bolt on with a big huge plate. So I've got to do the other set of nuts still, but I just wanted to test that it all fits. So I've had the tow bar itself actually in a couple times. Just got to make sure that these arms clear these cross braces. So give that a go now. A bit of clearance, which is good. Yep, no issues there. So I'll go all the way up. There you go, you can see the 2 arms hanging out the back. So obviously the tow bar itself will sit another probably 50 to 100 mil out the back of there, but that'll be all good. So I'll pack this tailgate lifter up and put the tow bar on, see how it all looks, and then I'll finish off the install. So here we have the finished product. So it's a pretty neat little install. I still need to do all the wiring stuff, which I'll do later with a mate of mine, Toby, because he's going to help me wire up the brake controller. But to remove this, so all you do is pull the pin on either side. So just little pin thing, pull these out. Like that. Slide this out all the way, which is actually really long. And then you can use your tailgate lifter. And then when you're done, slide it all the way back so it bottoms out. And then you've got to wiggle it a bit. So you just wiggle it a bit, put your pins back in, and that's it. There we go. Tow bar installed. So I don't know if I said before, the wire that I nicked with the grinder, I just went through the installation, so I've just wrapped it in tape and it all still works fine. So I'm going to ignore that until there's a problem. I need to get under and cable tie some wires out the way, and then later on in a few weeks or so when I get the Tow Pro controller from Red Arc, once I get that, I'm going to run the wires for the truck underneath and everything, put the tow controller in the cab and run the electric brakes back here. And then you can see me tow some stuff. So as I say relatively often, it's been a few weeks since I worked on this thing. I've been driving it every day, so this has been my daily. It's a bit of a beast to try and park everywhere and negotiate, but it's good to go. So today Toby's going to come around and help me with the wiring. So we did the tow bar in the first half of the episode, and the second half of the episode is going to be wiring. Alright, so what you just saw was Toby and I wiring up the fuse boxes. So we've got a bunch of different circuits going on with this relay setup. So each circuit has to have its own relay because everything's going from 24 volt to 12 volt. So we've got the left and right indicators. So there's two circuits. We've got the brake lights, we've got the tail lights. So there's 4 circuits. Then we've got reverse, cruise control, front light bar, rear light bar / reversing camera and reverse light, and a work light. So we've got, I think, 9 circuits in the end, which is pretty crazy, but they're all individually, and if you look at them all individually, it's pretty easy to work it out. Trying to do all 9 at once is a bit of a brain teaser, but doing them individually is pretty easy. So I'm going to show you on the board how it all works. Alright, so bear with me a little bit here. I'm not a teacher. So in the truck we've got 2 12 volt batteries which are connected together, which makes it 24 volt. So each of these is 12 volt. So I'll label those for you. 12 volt, and then together they're 24 volt. So what happens in the regular truck is it comes from earth, goes through the batteries, and then this wire here, which is toddling off to nowhere, goes to the cab and powers the cab 24 volt. Everything in the truck's 24 volt. So what we want to do with our little circuits, so we've got 9 of the bastards, is we want to add a relay. So what we want to do is have a trigger wire, which will be from 24 volt, and we want to run 24 volt through it to the earth to turn it on, and then we want to run 12 volt the other way to the appliance. In this case, I'm going to run a light. That can be your cruise control, that can be your radio, that can be whatever you want. But that we want this to be 12 volt. We want this to be 12 volt. We want this to be 24 volt, otherwise it won't turn on. We want this to be 24 volt. So we have 24 volt relays, just to confuse you a bit more. Most of the time you run a 12 volt relay, but if you run 24 volt through them, I can't imagine it would be great. So these are particular 24 volt relays. So what we want to do to get 12 volt is run from one battery to 12 volt. And then we want to run the earth from the light to the cab, or in my case, I'm running it back to this battery just to make sure I'm doing the right thing. Then what we're going to do is run 24 volt. So if I steal the power from here, this is one battery. If I steal it from here, it goes through the earth, through the battery, and counts this as one battery. So if I steal from here, my trigger wire, that makes it 24 volt. So if I just wanted constant power, like all the time, I'd go from here. But what I'm doing is it going through the cab, to the tail lights, doing a couple of these ones, and then going from the indicator, say, to the trigger wire. And then this earth here just goes back to the chassis earth. So what we have, I know this is confusing, I have 12 volt running this way, 24 volt running this way, but only when you turn your indicator on. So the indicator turns on, it closes the circuit for 24 volt, which allows the 12 volt to pass through the relay and go to your light, and then goes back to the earth. So just a quick visual demonstration of the two batteries. I'm under the truck here. So got one lead going from the earth, so that goes straight to chassis right there, to the negative terminal of the battery, to the multimeter, and then put the positive. So we're going to go across one battery. We're going to get 12.7. And then if we come up here, we go across, so that goes to the second battery, and then across to the other end, probe that, we get 25.6. So 24 volts, 12 volts. Alright, so hopefully that makes enough sense for now. So we're going to do 9 different circuits, and we're going to do that for every single one. So the only thing I'll be changing is where I get power from. So if I want constant power, it'll be coming from the battery. If I want ignition power, I have to use the trigger from ignition to go through, and it's going to be a bit frustrating, but it'll all work out. So cruise control is going to be powered off the ignition, so when the truck's running, cruise control works. All of the lights are going to be off of either the headlights for the front light. The work light's going to be off of constant power because I have to take the keys out to use the tailgate lifter, and if I've got using the tailgate lifter, I probably want a work light. The reverse lights are only going to be when the truck is on, so in ignition, reverse, it'll turn on. And then everything else is going to be off of ignition, except for the tow pro needs one constant 12 volt, and the radio needs one 12 volt constant. So hopefully next week's video clears up a few things. If this one didn't, it may be more confusing. We'll see. But until then, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.